off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Accoli.
No, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself. I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Yeah. Take charge, Kevin, would you? Jesus.
First time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm gonna have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
It is. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. We are live. Facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast. YouTube.com, the Hockey Podcast, where we are still sitting at TJ Oshie amount of subscribers. So please click that subscribe button and tell your friends and family about us. You can also follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. And you can subscribe to the audio after the podcast, shortly after the podcast is live. We say hello and wish a beautiful day to Sean. Hello, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm good, Kevin. Yeah, it is actually a beautiful day here in Calgary. It's hovering just about 20 degrees, and it's going to go down to about 0 degrees tomorrow. So we're in a perfect Calgary spring week where we get a little bit of everything.
Yes. You know, I don't miss that.
I don't blame you for not missing that part. It's just it's crazy. Like the weekend we had 24, 25 degrees in the sun, and then we got I think we got like 2 inches of snow on the Sunday.
That was 234. I think we managed to get through without.
It wasn't even Devin. It wasn't even Devin. Devin has not even said one word.
Yeah, Devin hasn't even had a chance to speak yet, and we've already ruined this.
Devin's happy.
How are you, Devin? How are you doing?
Well, I'm not dropping the shits and fucks like I normally do, but Sean is. So that's
Devin.
Always positive. Always positive. But yeah, today was
Sorry,
a beautiful
Tyler's
day.
dad.
Oh yes, today was a beautiful day. Took Gord to the park and watched her run around a bit. So it was lovely. It was fantastic. But yeah, now looking forward to the next 4 or 5 days as far as the weather goes here in Calgary.
It's fine. We are getting rain here this weekend anyway. So whenever we mock you for weather, we pay for it. So, and hello, yeah. Tyler on the midweek intermission.
Hi. What is going on?
He's so awkward. Hi.
I am here as well.
It's so odd to be in these like PM hours doing this show. I didn't know I was allowed on this show, but anyways,
you always had an open invite. What are you talking about?
Just as long as your hair is tamed, we're happy to have you on.
Well, I just did it fresh for you. Just for
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
Tyler, his hair is the Elliot Friedman hair of our podcast. So,
that's
man, I wouldn't say it's that bad.
I even gave the beard a trim today too.
No. I meant it as it's its own character.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, it does feel that way after about 2 hours out of the shower. So. Yeah, good to be with you guys. I'm in the midst of some time off my day job here, so I thought I'd put aside some time and come on the midweek show here this time, especially after a couple of great Canuck wins to talk about, which we'll get into in a sec here. So weather-wise, the summer and the spring, which is what we had last year, so everybody's kind of like on edge about it going rainy all of a sudden, but it's been just amazing up here in northwestern BC this last week. Temperatures around 20 degrees during the day, clear skies. I've been out on the motorcycle a couple of times and golfing again tomorrow. It's going to be great.
And you know what's great about this episode too is we've got the happy Canuck fans with 2 straight wins, and we've got the angry Leaf fan who can give us the other side of that perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Which is going to be fascinating.
I mean, I think all of us in the Canuck side of the equation can feel a little sympathy as to how it ended there last night, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But
But adorning, we have to start with adorning the skies, the clear blue skies of the Lower Mainland. Beautiful, clear day here in Vancouver, and across the sky is a plane. Not just any plane, not just a WestJet plane or an Air Canada plane or a international flight that shouldn't really be going on, but I digress. It's a banner. Hashtag Fire Benning is flying across the Lower Mainland as a group of Canuck fans has decided to pull their money together and send out this banner for all of us to see. I'm going to let Tyler start, and we'll just I have a funny feeling, just to tease everyone, we are going to be the only podcast, or one of the only podcasts, that are going to sit on this side of the table. Sean, we're picking a table
for once. Yeah, that's good. I was having my Zen moment today. I was on my bike. I was going to Kitimat. Of course, we talked about the weather was great. I get to Kitimat. I find out that this happens. I'm on the first day of my vacation, and it's been soured already by this banner stuff. We kind of heard about this being in the works a while back. And, I just wanted to initially just ignore it and think, no, they're probably not going to do it. Yeah, it's, people are probably going to talk them out of it. It's a stupid idea. And I mean, can understand why people want to do the fire bending thing. I mean, we've seen the Melnick out billboards in Ottawa. The fans don't feel like they're being listened to. So on certain levels, I understand it. But the timing is just the shits here, guys. Like, they just came off two of their best wins in years. Definitely two of the best wins this season. Playoff-like wins. Even the players are saying it. They've been through hell here this last 3 weeks with the COVID outbreak. It's been the worst situation of any North American professional sports team that I know of. And now we've had to ruin that with a stupid banner. Okay. Let me compose myself here. And there's a lot of generalizations about fan bases, right? Like Canuck fans could say, okay, Leaf fans are this and that, or Bruins fans are this and that. It's generalizing. Not everybody's the same way. There's quite a number of reasonable fans, but unfortunately, shit like this takes over the discussion. And the Canuck fan base has already got a reputation of being kind of odd, little salty, little bit frustrated and impatient. And now you just had to go and play into the narrative again with this stupid banner. It's so frustrating to be a Canuck fan and linked to something like this. Why, guys? It makes no sense. It's in the middle of a great couple of wins. Just stop it. Just stop it. Benning's not going anywhere. Certainly not before the end of the season. If you want to get your message heard, save it for the off season. But I mean, I don't want to tell people how to spend their money or what kind of causes they want to donate to, but really in the middle of a pandemic, we're going to scrounge together money to fly a banner up above English Bay when there's so many other causes that could use support right now. It's just overall, I just can't stand it.
Sean?
I'm not against the idea in principle. We're in a situation where fans would normally be booing and chanting Fire Benning at the Raj if we were in a normal season. They don't have that ability now. So they're trying to find more creative ways as opposed to just yelling into the abyss of Twitter and social media to get their point across. The timing just doesn't, unfortunately, like the timing couldn't be worse for something like this. With the Canucks coming off two absolutely amazing wins, the heart and soul that team showed in those two wins is insane. And you fall, and then day off, and you've got that. It just, like I said, I think if you look at the tenure of Jim Benning and the moves he's made and the patterns of issues that he's had and this management team has had, I don't think you could say that this fan base has been impatient. And I think there's parts of this fan base that are very, very frustrated and very, very angry with how things have gone. And we're 7 years into Benning's regime, and he's telling us we have to wait 2 more years. It's really frustrating. I prefer this over just yelling and screaming on social media. I prefer this over just dividing of the fan base because of difference of opinions. But I think it's just I'm sure they had it booked, but before these 2 games happened. And the cancellation fee on that's probably not very, very nice. So they probably just figured, you know what, screw it. We still want Benning out. We're sending it out there again. So I just think it's like I said, I want to see Jim Benning out of there as Canucks GM. Yeah, he's built a good group of core guys, like as Keegan has pointed out, but it's so much of the other parts. It's all these other signings, the trading away of draft picks, not finding a way to bring in more assets. You look at what Ottawa's doing. They're putting together a good young core, but they've also got a crap ton of young players and prospects coming up, while the Canucks don't, because for some reason they don't want to acquire picks. And it's been that way since year 1 under Jim Bennett. Trading away picks for stopgap players that haven't happened. Trading away players and not getting picks back. Now, sometimes it works out where you get a Tyler Mott. We'll get into how Matthew Highmore looked in his first season. First game as a Canuck, and he's looked. I can see why they targeted him, but it's just frustrating. It's 7 years in. So for me, I think they just got the Canucks coming out with 2 absolute amazing wins. Really put a damper on the timing of this.
You made the point, Sean, about fans in the building. You see, something like this, I think it's easy for the owner to just pretend he didn't see it, And it kind of feels to me like he's taken the ignorant route, and when it comes to how the fans feel about things, he certainly does pay attention to what's in the media. But if you're the owner, there's no hiding from the fans in the building if they're chanting "Fire Benning." I mean, we remember the night that Fire Gillis came out, and the next day he was gone. I would respect that route a little bit more than something gimmicky like this. But to me, it's not even about Benning's track record. I mean, yeah, it's got lots of holes in it, and there's good reason to advocate for a change at that position. But the whole style of the thing and the timing is just what bugs me. And why do you have to sour a couple of great wins?
Well,
Devin?
My question is, how else are the fans supposed to react to how they feel without having a voice on social media that doesn't get heard?
Don't buy tickets or merchandise when you can go to the games. That would be my suggestion. Vote with your wallet, because it's been done before and the owner has reacted to that.
Well, valid. But at the same time, what can you do at this very moment when you have that passion and you want to voice your opinion, but once again, it just gets lost within the interwebs, if you will, of Twitter, right?
Well, I'm not trying to say that this season doesn't matter, but are we really going to take these measures in a season which frankly has to have the asterisk next to it with only 56 games and 6 opponents? I think I would have an easier time relating to this kind of thing if it were normal times, but these aren't normal times. Just breathe, people, breathe a little bit, give it a chance.
The other thing, before Kevin gets in there, the other thing I think that really spurred this on was when everything happened with the trying to come back, and when you had the rumors that players were upset with the communication And then you go back to the communication issues go all the way back to when listen. I think there was someone did an interview with Sean Matthias, and he said like there was no communication, and we saw it again this past off season. So I think there's a lot of issues that the Canucks fans are not. There's a large group of Canucks fans are not happy with. And it's not just because of this season. It's not just because of how they handled the COVID outbreak or anything like that. It's built up. And like I said, I'm not against the idea of this in principle. It's just that I agree. The timing just is bad. And doesn't shine well on the market. Doesn't shine well on the fans.
That's my part of it that I have an issue with. Kevin.
Yeah, I guess for me, this is I am not the type. I've never been the type of fan that would want to wear a bag on my head or chant fire this person or that person or throw rocks at a manager or now. That is not to say that I do not think that Jim Benning has done a good job. I'm not going to sit here and defend Jim Benning's record. That hashtag facts only, that speaks for itself, and that grades in and of itself. But I guess for me, in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of everyone yelling about the fact that we need to support each other and stand with each other, and people are losing jobs and all of this stuff about humanity and people, that it just doesn't feel right that we're doing this. Even though this is a very rich human being, it still doesn't feel right to me that we're publicly humiliating him in this way. And I can't, that's where and the timing makes it worse after 2 huge wins. But even if they lost 2 games, after everything that the Canucks have been through for the last 3 weeks with their families and everything else, I don't think the organization needed this. I think that I think we needed to just let's just put this away for now. If you want to fly a banner, I guess at the end of the year, I'm not going to support it, but you be you, I guess. But the timing of this just feels so inhumane, and I'm going to say a little bit immature.
Yeah.
And it really bugs. Like, there are people in, like, if you want to let's get deeper into this. It's not only like you're wanting for the people that wanted to cancel the season or all of this. Like, there were staff people, radio people, and people that were making the same amount of money that us 4 are, that were going to lose their job if the season were canceled. So, and you guys can all feel free on YouTube or whatever. Feel free to disagree with me. I'm just expressing my opinion. I just think that there is a better way to do this and a more mature way to do this. And that's, I know that I'm not the cool kid on the Canuck block, but I'm a believer that humanity needs to prevail.
Yeah, another recent example in pro sports that I just had to shake my head at was recently the fans at Yankee Stadium were throwing baseballs on the field in protest of them losing to Tampa Bay. And the Yankees are having a horrendous start to the season, but come on, people, like, you got 27 World Series. Okay. You're having a rough patch here. Calm down. It just reflects so poorly on Yankee fans. And of course, with social media, everyone wants to pile on them and label all fans the same. And that's not fair. That was stupid. And I think this banner thing was stupid too. And if there's people out there that feel like Vancouver is not a very good sports market, well, boy, it didn't look very good with the banner. That's one thing. And I just want to roll into Kevin quickly. Kevin Bieksa and Eddie Lack appeared on Sportsnet 650 this week, and they were asked about, what it's like dealing with the media in Vancouver. And, they both weighted on the fact that it's so impossible, and it does have an effect on the players. I mean, they can have a 10-game winning streak, and yet the focus is still on negative things. And fans are going to vigorously defend their right to express themselves, but don't kid yourself. These are human beings. That make lots of money, yes, but they are human beings that do pay attention to what's said about them. And when you got 30 other places, soon 31 other places to play, maybe it moves the needle in the direction of going elsewhere when you get tired of stuff like this.
And I just, before someone else continues here, I think the other thing that's really bothering me about this, and maybe bothering me a little bit more than it normally would, is I think that we're right now in a season where if we don't like someone, we want to pile on them. If someone screws up or someone does not say the right thing, we need to all pile up on them. Like, for example, and I will not defend him, is Damien, like the stuff on Damien Cox. Okay, I disagree with Damien Cox. I'm not a fan of Damien Cox, but do we need to tweet at him incessantly, hours upon end? Like, honestly,
yeah. I mean, it's not helping. He just feeds off that anyway.
He totally feeds off that. Yeah. So does Steve Simmons. So does Eric Francis. Yeah. They literally get paid for you to feed off that. I don't know. That is something just for me personally, and I know there's going to be people out there that disagree with me. I'm really not feeling comfortable with this pile on mentality.
Yeah, just before Devin goes here, Kevin, you used the word maturity, and I think that's the right word here. I really wish that the Canuck fan base could just show some maturity on a consistent basis.
Now, I want to bring a little bit of light here because it does seem a little bit one-sided on one way.
That's fair. That's why we appreciate that. We need opposite of me in this world for sure.
If you really think about it, you want some in this world of chaos and COVID, you want some normality, and in a normal season, I feel like yes, it would be more of a spotlight on this banner situation, but isn't this why we love fans? To a certain extent, we love hockey so much, and we love to show our passion to our favorite teams, and it's a bit of a balancing act. And yet, yes, within this world, we want to make sure that we are able to sympathize with everybody and make sure everybody's heard and make sure everybody knows that we are all human. But at the same time, where this is hockey. This shows how passionate this market is, and I respect that. Maybe not to the extent that they went with it. To me, it's no different than chanting "Fire Benning" at a home game, or even to the extent of throwing waffles on the ice or throwing your jersey on the ice. It just shows that you have a passionate fan base, and that's what you really want out of it. And I don't want it to get lost within the humanity side of things, because I'm right smack dab in the middle. I can see both sides of it, but just shedding light on the other side here.
Yeah, I'm with you in that aspect. I'm sort of in the middle where I understand and feel that everything that's led up to this, I think it's a completely fair action to take if you're willing to spend the money. Because remember, this is their money. These are private citizens. We can get upset about how they spend their money if we want, but it's theirs. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do with it. And but it's the timing just is not. I keep wanting to say unfortunately, but I don't think that's the right word to use here. But the timing is bad. Because I think what spurred this on was the Pearson contract. And then the everything coming out about the team not being happy with the communication. So when you added those two together, as well as the trade deadline, right? When I think everyone agreed that Benning did not get enough for Adam Gaudette. I think it was at a point where they just this group of fans just got fed up enough. I was like, you know what? And I again, like I said, I think this is it's a bit immature, but so is the amount of yelling and confrontational tweeting and everything that happens on social media. That's immature as well. You know what's also immature? Painting your face and your body to the colors of your team. That's immature. That's crazy.
Why? Why is that?
I wouldn't put
That
them
doesn't
these
convey a
in the,
negative message.
yeah.
No, it's not negative. It's a positive immaturity in that aspect, but it's still not. It's still more of an immature action. While this is a negative action, it's still part of fandom. Immaturity is definitely part of fandom, and it's trying to find the right balance. And right now, I think both in the Canucks market, the media and the fans do not have the right balance in terms of being able to cover the team and follow the team at a way where you can have fun watching the game, you can have fun bantering with the game while not being just becoming more of a caricature of what fans are. And
I've talked about this on the podcast before. The problem with all of that is that when it comes to trying to attract free agents and get them at a good price, you're just working against yourselves on that one when stuff like this happens. And I think it applies to all leagues. I mean, and Kevin Bieksa had talked about it when he played with the Ducks. There was basically 2 people that covered the team full time. So basically, rightly or wrongly, if the team's not doing well, there's just no fans in the building. There's not much discussion or coverage about them. They kind of just fade into oblivion, and they try and get out of the funk. And then the fans are there with playoff time in the U.S. markets. They do the playoffs right. Those places are bumping and they are full. And so if you're a player, you're going to like that. But if you come to Canada where there's this microscope and you got all these kinds of things going on, and like Eddie Lack talked about, you're in the midst of a 10-game winning streak and there's still negative things being said about you, I think that just the fans are working against the management and trying to put a good team together in a salary cap world. And I wish that people would start realizing that.
Well, if we're talking about that, it's not just fans, it's media too.
Yeah, well, the 2 go together. I mean,
yeah.
Well, Kevin Bieksa talked about this week. He talked about how there was some media that weren't allowed in that they were like, I don't want him in this dressing room.
We're not talking to him. Yeah,
we're not talking to him. Paul Maurice, like you're right, and it's not only the Canuck fan base. Paul Maurice had to call out a Winnipeg reporter for attacking Blake Wheeler when the Winnipeg Jets were winning.
Yeah.
The Montreal Canadian fans were demanding Dominic Ducharme be fired after 2 games. Like, it's just like, and
when you have that passion, that's what you get. So it doesn't matter what sport, if you've got that passion, you've got the sheer volume of fans and media accompanying that. That's what you're going to get. Toronto, absolute
David
dom
Riddick.
show. Yeah. Montreal's crazy. Winnipeg, when things get going, is crazy. Edmonton, Calgary too. Like I know we talk about how sometimes we think that Calgary can be easy on players and all that. The amount of talk about Johnny and Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, even when they're playing well, is still up there. Vancouver's there, and then you talked about the Yankees, like in baseball. Then you go into like football, both European and American. That's crazy too.
Yeah.
Like the amount, like right now, like, and it's very very much deserved after what the stunt they tried to pull. There are like Arsenal fans wanting to like their owners gone because of that. Like that's, and they've got piñatas and stuff like that they're hitting with sticks. So I think it's for me, I think it that's what comes with it. And if you want to be the flip side of that is you win, you're a god.
Yeah.
Like whenever a Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup, the captain, the coach, and the GM and the top players, the whole roster, but those specific players, the big key people are going to be absolute gods in that market. Had the Canucks won in 2011, Mike Gillis, the Sedins, Luongo.
Oh, there would be statues all over Rogers.
Yeah,
there would
had
really
the
would be,
had the
sure.
Flames won in when they went to the Cup final.
Oh,
Kipper, Iggy, Sutter, they're all like enshrined all over Calgary. Edmonton wins in 06. Freaking Martin Gerber is enshrined in that city. That's
yeah.
You have pros and cons with all markets, right? You have in the U.S. markets where you don't have the mass volume and passion that you have up in Canada. Yeah, you don't have to deal with all that criticism, but when you win, it's nearly not going to be as much fun as if you win in a Canadian city or like a Chicago or Pittsburgh or someplace like that where they love their hockey.
Yeah. Now, if we want to, we'll jump to this in a second here, and I do want to start with the Canucks, but I do have a theory about this year that I'm going to bring up, and I was thinking about this, and I was going to wait, but I think this may fit a little bit. This year, with the North, there's going to be an extra. Whoever wins this North is going to have bragging rights, no matter what, in Canada. I think that there's that feeling, and I think this is my theory. It's either the Toronto Maple Leafs win or the team that beats the Toronto Maple Leafs will feel some sort of bragging rights in some ways. We're going to go away and saying, you know what? If someone beats the Leafs, we're going to say, yeah, we kicked the Leafs' ass this year. I think that there are going to be a lot of fans who say, you know what? I don't care. We didn't win the cup. That's fine.
That's a very Vancouver thing. If you want to make that suggestion, that is such a Vancouver thing. I don't I don't know. We don't have any Oilers or Jets people here, but they like beating the Leafs too. But it's not as much of a thing for them as it is for a Canucks fan, and I would say an Ottawa Senators fan as well. I mean, I think again, playoff history going back to the early 2000s would influence that too. But I mean, look at how the Senators have played this year. And remember Pierre Dorion chucking the drink when they lost in overtime against Toronto. I mean, you guys aren't making the playoffs, but the games seem to mean a little more.
Yeah.
So what about the Canucks games mean more to, I guess, the Canucks fans than, let's say, Calgary or Edmonton beating the Maple Leafs?
It's the whole we're out here on the West Coast. We're a big world-class city, and Toronto's a big world-class city that's in the so-called center of the universe, but it's bigger. There's a little bit of an envyism that comes around that. There's more of the media coverage is driven by Toronto interest. So it's those kinds of things that, yeah, I mean, last night I'm watching with a couple of friends, and we kind of stand up and say, yeah, it's always good, nice beating Toronto, isn't it? But you kind of have to draw the line on that and say, okay, yes, that's true, but there's still 30 other teams in the way of winning that Stanley Cup as well. You don't want to overstate it too much.
The other thing is, it started way back before the Canucks even existed. Vancouver was trying to get into the NHL for a few years, and Toronto kept blocking them because of TV and broadcasting rights and all that. So I think there's a little, like, you get the boomer crowd that are still bitter about that a little bit. You pass that down to everything, the generations past that, and then you just have the media. It's the fact that it's the center of the media universe here in Canada, and it's Vancouver's very much I want to say it's like a counterculture type atmosphere out there, especially when dealing with topics like equality, and yeah, I think that's probably the two things that I think I need to add to that for sure.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. It's not about people in Toronto or things to do in Toronto or anything like that. I mean, I love Toronto. I've been there 3 times. I think it's a great city. I'd go every year if I could, if it was practical and affordable. But I'm way up here. It's a long way to go. But so it's not a slight against the city. It's just you've got them, you've got us. Both big cities, big media markets, just a lot kind of clash in there in terms of culture.
Well, the reason why I ask is just because I feel like the majority of Canada feels the same way that you guys do. And it's obviously that's your team that you're talking about there. So there's more passion that's involved with that. But Montreal Canadiens, you didn't mention them. Like there's always a big rivalry with them, obviously being part of the original hockey markets. So, yeah, just I mean, I can definitely see the path that you're taking here, but I'd say that Kevin is correct with his statement before, saying that it will be who beats Toronto, whether or not they win the Stanley Cup or not. But whoever comes out of the North is going to be it's going to be a big deal.
And so let's move on to that, because I do want to talk about how I will tease. I think that's affecting the Leafs, but let's start with the Canucks, because with this rivalry, whenever we rivalry games, we go with the winners, and the Canucks were the winners. And there we go. The Canucks, it wasn't the two most beautiful games in the history of hockey, but they did it. And I'm going to just say that we have the poll question, and I know I'm going to start by being ridiculous, and I think I'm very close to declaring our poll question. I am over 50% confident that the Canucks can make the playoffs, and I know
50%. Do I have to go Kevin again, Kevin, or what?
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Oh,
the
boy.
Montreal Canadiens are struggling. Carey Price is out with a concussion for at least a week. They are not finding ways. They are finding ways to lose, not finding ways to win. They also Gallagher's out, and that's a huge loss. The Calgary Flames are inconsistent, and the Canucks have 4 games against the Calgary Flames at the end of the year. And the Flames have 3 games against the Canadiens. Depending on how all of this goes, the Canucks are not out of this.
No,
the Habs and the Flames have left a huge door open that the Canucks can be buoyed by the fact that they won these 2 games and have given themselves a chance. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go 19-0, but I don't know. I was hearing Jeff Patterson today. If the Canadiens and the Flames are not going to win, and the Canadiens or the Canucks are just able to slowly chip away, they have a chance. They don't need to necessarily go on an incredible hot streak. Like with the Flames, as an example, when Darryl Sutter was asked how many games do the Flames need to win in order to get the playoffs, and he said 12. There were 12 games left. The Canucks don't need to take that. They just need to take this game by game. And that's why I think there is a door open.
There is definitely a door open. There's still a lot of kind of, if this happens and if that happens, that leaves me feeling like, okay, let's slow it down a bit here. But certainly, I don't think very many Canuck supporters sort of saw it unfolding like this, where with the length of time off and losing, the other teams catching up in the games played calm, they figured that the gap would be a lot bigger than it is now, and then coming out off a couple of wins here, all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe they do have a shot. But there's still a lot of what ifs there that have to go the Canucks' way. And can they get there without Elias Pettersson being back in that lineup soon? That's another one for me. But if Holtby has found his form and Thatcher Demko has not lost his form, well, you got to be excited about their chances of winning any of these games, because that kind of goaltending, Holtby clearly stole one on Sunday, and last night wasn't so much about Holtby, but still very encouraging to see that.
Yeah, both games both games were about goaltending, but for different reasons. But yeah.
It's not I'm not nearly as confident as Kevin. I'm still in the sub 25% range right now, but I'm ready to be proven wrong. That's where I'm at. I'm at a point where I'm like, I've got my expectations a little bit low here, just coming off. They're playing on adrenaline and emotion right now. How long can they do that with? How long can they continue to win games with that? If they can find a way to get 3 or 4 out of Ottawa, that you're right in the thick of things there, especially if Montreal continues to struggle. But like I said, I'm a sub 25% chance. I'm ready to be proven wrong, but I'm just gonna enjoy what the next few games and see what happens and hope for the best. It's gonna be I think it's gonna be fun. The last two games, because of that set, because of what I said, the expectation is like, well, let's see what they can do. And I've gone back away from being so hypercritical about how the Canucks play and certain players, and looking to find positives and enjoying the drama of the games. And it should be fun, and it should be very, very interesting to watch, especially if they can find a way to win a couple games here.
Yeah.
The sun is sure shining on Tyler.
I know. I have the TV background here, and I have failed. I have failed to account for the low
it's
sun
like the
in the
gods
sky.
have joined on Tyler.
Am I the golden boy now? Do I get an award?
With that hair, you always get an award.
I mean, if you guys think it's really distracting, I can close
No,
the
it's
blind.
I don't know.
The sun is falling super fast. I mean, I'm kind of like sort of seeing it just kind of.
No, don't worry. I don't think it matters.
You're distracting enough as is, and then now the sun's on you. Yeah, you need to do something about it for me personally. But but for the Canucks, you got to have some hope. You got to believe a little bit here. They definitely aren't out of it, and the way that they're playing it. I mean, every game's a bit of a roller coaster, but you're hanging on tight and hoping for the best. So as far as this podcast goes, I really hope they can do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch. Not just for this podcast, but just for hockey in general. I love cheering for the underdog. So I really hope that they can nut up and figure out how to win every single game, and not rely on the goaltending as heavily as they did on Sunday, but hopefully find the balance between that.
The one thing that's a concern when Montreal and Calgary play head-to-head, of course, is 3-point games. So when we look at the standings, you have to remember that the 3-point game thing is an issue. But one game at a time, certainly. And maybe I'm kind of getting ahead of myself after two games here. But I know Sean, Kevin, Devin as well. I mean, does it not feel a little bit like the bubble where they shouldn't be winning? They're getting outshot. They're so reliant on goaltending, and yet they're somehow willing themselves to victory. And that was something that went on for basically a month between the qualifying round and then the first two real rounds. And I mean that kept going a lot longer than I think most people expected to. So maybe they can harness some of that magic again.
I definitely felt something different about this team when watching these past two games. Like, for most of this season, it's always felt a little bit disjointed and just like nothing was connecting. And there's still a little bit of that there. like especially when they seem to be like they hold the middle, and then all hell breaks loose, and you're watching between your fingers, hoping that they can clear the puck out of the zone. It's the last couple of games, but it definitely feels like that this is kind of brought them closer together and created that us versus the world mentality that sometimes you need. And if that's the case, it's good. Even if they don't make the playoffs, I think they're gonna put some make some people rethink things and make some people jump back on the bandwagon who aren't quite there yet. And it's like I said, I'm really excited. I think it's just because I haven't been. Maybe some of it is because I haven't been able to watch Canucks hockey, and it was just under a month before these two games, and I was starting to get very cranky about that aspect. But it's. I really, really hope that they find that this unites them, and they can find some magic and go on a bit of a miraculous run, because we need that. Like as Canucks fans, we need that. As hockey fans, we need something, some underdog story to figure out how to rally behind. And Devin, you're right. It'd be great entertainment.
Now, on the other side of the coin, remember at the bubble coming into this season, after we saw that miraculous run that they did, they were the underdogs again, right? Or before that. And it was just such a big letdown at the beginning of the year. So maybe just being the underdog is what this team needs. And that's a big middle finger to everybody in the NHL saying, fuck you, and that we're going to fucking do this. So I really hope that they can. But with the way that they are playing, it's a little skeptical.
It's fair to be skeptical, as Keenan pointed out. 5 games versus the Oilers, right? So, I
4 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, and the Oilers are playing very well. Like, we will give them the credit for that. And Mike Smith is playing
but they still
very
have
well.
Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen and Alex Stalock in net. So there's still, again, doors open.
Myself, I don't mind the matchup for the Canucks against the Oilers. Obviously the first 3 games the Canucks played against the Leafs in Toronto were, all losses, so I didn't like that matchup. Suddenly now Vancouver's 4-3 against Toronto, and if I'm not mistaken, the Canucks are the only team the Leafs don't have a winning record against. So, that's good. Still don't like the Calgary matchup, and I don't like the Winnipeg matchup. And you'd have to think at some point the Senators are going to pick up a win or 2 against Vancouver. So, we can worry about Edmonton, but there's some other teams in the way too that concern me.
The Ottawa Senators, I will legitimately say right now, I would rank them the 4th best team in this division.
Crickets.
Like in terms,
yeah.
Who's the 4th best team?
So you've got obviously Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and then Ottawa.
Yeah, right now, I would put them ahead of Calgary, and I would put them ahead of Montreal.
Well, then it's very timely that the Canucks are playing the Senators coming up here. We'll have to flag this and revisit it next Wednesday.
Yeah, when I'm wrong again.
Yeah, that team is definitely remember at the beginning of the season we said that they're going to be pesky and a plucky team to play against, and not being able to you're not going to be able to put them away easy. Yeah. That's what this team is now.
Yeah,
especially now that they've got Jacob Bernard-Docker playing. Shane Pinto's played a game. The pressure's off them. They've got some of their veterans are playing for jobs for next year on a very suppressed market coming up. So they're a dangerous team. So when the Canucks are undefeated against Ottawa right now, but this is a completely different Ottawa team that they're going to end up playing now than they did early in the season.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a certain like everyone, as much as most of Canada, other than Leaf fans, hate the Leafs, most of Canada love the Sens. So I think there's a little bit of that as well. But let's just quickly before we jump to the Leafs, because I think we need to talk about the Leafs here. Poor Devin, 49 minutes in here waiting for that.
Well, do we have to talk about the Leafs, please?
Yeah.
Well, Keegan has a question.
We're already
for
dead,
us.
Kevin. Okay.
Before we do, I just want to share this one tweet that Brendan Batchelor put out with about the Canucks and their situation. Because of the schedule change, when the Habs play their last game on May 12th, the Canucks still have 5 games to play. So if they're within 10 points when the Habs play their last game on May 12th,
holy, pucker up the butt cheeks.
Yeah, right. Honestly, if they're within 6 points,
10's pretty comfortable, but 6-point deficit with possible 12 to pick up, or possible 10 to pick up in the remaining games. Boy, oh boy. Yeah. Yeah.
So
sometimes the NHL just out NHLs itself. Like that would be amazing if it comes down to that.
Yeah.
We had the question there.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, last night was not the night of David Riddick's one of David Riddick's best moments, and Sheldon Keefe let him know. We'll start with Devin. Keefe put this last loss on Riddick. Now the Leafs have lost 5 in a row. Steve Dangle is angry. Just check his YouTube. How is Devin feeling? I'll take hockey's angry.
Talk about, the ups and downs of the season. This is not what you're really hoping for within the last third or quarter of the season. You want to make sure. Thank you, Tyler, for fixing your hair. I think that it's a good, like, as far as amping yourself up for the playoffs. You really having this kind of reality check. With this many games left is good. You don't want this at the end of the year, questioning yourself before you start playing the games that actually matter. So excuse me, it's unfortunate, but overall you got to be. It's about the process. I've talked about the process multiple times on this podcast before. Just make sure that every time that you're stepping on the ice, it's better than the last time you were. And David Riddick, he knows exactly what happened. He knows exactly what he needs to be doing better. It can't be good. Just with watching him in Calgary, his confidence is shot. That's very, very apparent, especially within this past year and a half. I feel for the guy as a goalie, as a person, especially within that market. You talk about media and having a microscope on you, and being in Toronto at this time. Oh God, I have nothing but sympathy for the guy. But the reality of it is he hasn't been coming out to play, and he needs to be better. And the fact that Sheldon Keefe is blaming Riddick on the last loss, yep. It's completely valid. How we did it may be a bit questionable, but overall, Keefe's not wrong.
Well, David Riddick himself blamed himself for the loss too, so it's not like the two are not on the same page there.
No, and David Riddick, he's his harshest critic. Period. And as you know, I'm sure the majority of the NHL players would say that they are their harshest critic. But you know that David Riddick, he is an emotional guy. He was very well liked in Calgary, and going into a new team and playing like you have, I can't imagine how he's feeling.
So are we just gonna say that this is Riddick and there's no concerns in Toronto?
No, there's definitely concerns in Toronto.
Because that power play is junior level awful.
It's bad. It's very bad. The fact that they've spread it out between two lines. You got power play 1, power play 2. Not really loading up on that top line, and you can see the pros and cons between both. You want to have a good number 1 and number 2 power play, but I think they need to go back to what they know and consistently and figure this out once and for all, so that once they do get to the playoffs and like I said, when the games start mattering more, they need to capitalize on those chances, because if they don't, it's going to be a hard battle to get further and further in down the road to the ultimate goal, which is the Stanley Cup.
I think part of the problem with the Leafs, and this is sort of what I'm thinking, I am wondering if this us against the world mentality is almost working against the Leafs, and they're sort of feeling this. I think that there's a huge amount, there's expectations on everybody, and I'm not saying that I'm not trying to defend them, but I don't remember this much pressure on a Leafs team. There is if the Leafs, there are Leaf fans from, we talk about how there'll be fan bases that'll be so happy if they beat the Leafs. There will be Leaf fans that will say that this is a blown opportunity if they don't get to at least the Final Four in the Stanley Cup. And I'm wondering how this is weighing on this organization.
I
have a different theory on that, Kevin. But you go first, Devin.
No, you go. Whoever goes first.
Tyler, go for it, man. I've been talking.
I just think they're getting comfortable at the top of the standings. I just think it's I think it's simple. I think they're just getting a little. The urgency is not there because of where they're at in the standings. You know, if they're fighting tooth and nail to maintain a playoff spot, we'd be having a completely different discussion about a lot of things surrounding the Leafs. I think that they're just lacking that sharpness in their game right now because, you know, it looks like they're going to make the playoffs fairly comfortably here.
Well, look at Tampa Bay 2 years ago. They were miles ahead of the rest of the pack of the NHL, and they got swept in the first round. The lack of important games, as Tyler's mentioned, is apparent. And to Kevin's point, I think it's column A and column B. I'm not going to pick a table, Sean. I'm sorry. It's both sides for sure, because you have Dubas making the big moves and bringing in Nick Foligno, getting some more depth within the organization on the blue line and on the forward end, and bringing in David Rittich too. So it can't be a comfortable situation as well off as the Leafs are right now in the standings. With the way that they're playing, they need to get a big reality check and look in the mirror, because if they don't figure this shit out before, let's say 10 games before the playoffs start or to the end of the season, then it's going to be a bit of a panic. And it's not one of those things where you just, I'm saying all the fucking cliches right now. You can't just flip on a light switch here and start going right away. But the one thing that they haven't had is Nick Foligno in the lineup. And I feel like the loss of Zach Hyman is unbelievably unfortunate. That's way understated. I feel, and if you're a Leafs fan, you know, but if you're just a casual fan, then yeah, it's a massive loss. So having Nick Foligno come in the lineup, hopefully within this next game, really I think should benefit Toronto. But once again, if that top six isn't firing the way that it should be, then God, and not getting the right goaltending, it's going to be a big struggle for them, trying to find that second gear, third gear, fourth gear, whichever analogy you want, to really start redlining into the playoffs.
The way I look at it is if you don't get the saves, it's so hard to play your game.
Yeah,
so hard to play your game. And let's go back a week when Jack Campbell was the darling and the Leafs were rolling. These issues were still there, but they were being covered because of they were getting good goaltending. And good goaltending can do that, and you need goaltending to do that. You're not going to be playing your best every game. You're not going to be redlining like that. You need to have good goaltending, and unfortunately, like Jack Campbell played decent on Sunday, but you're not going to survive a performance like David Rittich put up last night.
Yeah,
where you come back, you get a shorthanded goal to go up, or was it to go up or tie the game?
To go up
3-2. Yeah.
Yep.
And then David Rittich lets in an absolute stinker through the 5-hole on a clapper from the boards. That's so deflating. So deflating. If one of their goalies gets hot, if Jack Campbell can rediscover that hot streak, if Rittich can rediscover the hot streaks he's had in the past, Michael Hutchinson, who knows? If one of those goalies can get hot, the 90% of these issues don't really matter. You want to fix them as a coach, but as you're going to get the wins.
Yeah, Jack Campbell isn't as bad as I feel like he played on Sunday. He was super hot, like Sean said, but I feel like he's kind of right in the middle. As long as he's able to make those big saves when you need them, and I think that he is better than he has shown in his past few outings. So it's about confidence, and if you don't have that confidence, you're done for, right? And you start second questioning those shots from the boards, and you start second guessing where your posts are, how far out of the net you are, or whether or not you commit to that pass on the other side. Once you start thinking, that's when you're done. It has to be reactionary, and if you're not reacting properly, it's not going to work out in your favor. I truly believe that Jack Campbell is a better goaltender than he has shown in the past 2 outings.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. And look, I mean, the last time the Leafs made a trip to Vancouver, they lost those 2 games, and I said at the time, the namer players for the Leafs were not very visible. Well, that wasn't the case this time. I mean, I think Tavares had 3 goals in the 2 games. Nylander had a goal and a couple assists in the 2 games. Matthews putting up points, nice power play goal on Sunday. So it's not like those namer players haven't been there, but if you're getting decent play across the board and then something less than that in goal, it's just not going to work out for you.
Look at Holtby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a lot of that. A lot of the themes from both of those games were definitely goaltending. And the Leafs have 3 games against the Jets coming up, which I think will be very, very interesting to watch and see where everybody is at there for sure.
Yeah, and you got to think Toronto's going to get back on track here pretty quick. But boy, if that next set against Winnipeg doesn't go well, it really will be a sky is falling feeling.
And Winnipeg as of right now is without Blake Wheeler. They're their captain and the soul of that team. So I believe he will be back for at least 2, if not all of those games. So having him back, you got to be wondering whether or not the Leafs can pull that one out or not, especially if Hellebuck is going to be the goalie that he has been in the past.
I certainly think that this is going to be interesting with the Leafs. The other thing, I guess we got to talk about William Nylander. Should he have been benched, or did we overblow this, or was this an overblown thing?
Sean, you're
muted, Sean.
Yelling into the void.
Sorry. I don't even know exactly what happened. Like, he was late for a meeting?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Like, that's unacceptable from William Nylander. That's part of being a professional hockey player. You got to be on time for meetings and make sure that you don't have that issue. But I think the plan was to scratch him, except for the fact that they had Hyman with his injury and Mikheyev. They had Mikheyev's day to day, and they couldn't play him.
Yeah, so it kind of felt that way to me as well, and they still made an example out of him and in a public manner with putting him in the gray uniform for their morning skate. So I guess from Sheldon Keefe's point of view, he did institute some measure of discipline that would get Nylander to smarten up, and he responded with a pretty good game. Nice effort there on the first goal that opened the scoring with Tavares putting it in. So. Hopefully it's in the past for Nylander and the Leafs.
Yeah, it's just more so of a make an example of them and make him feel a bit embarrassed. And it's like to Sean's point, not having 2 of your top 6 players in your lineup really makes a difference too, especially when you want to get some footing and you want to get some wins under your belt.
And the Leafs were on a 1, 2, 3, 4 game losing streak, and you're pulling that. I don't think you can overblow that in saying that you're going to scratch him, because you're in the stretch run to the playoffs where you're wanting to build up the momentum that Devin's talking about, and then you do that while you're in a losing streak. That's a big mistake from Nylander.
For sure. And if I just asked Nazem Kadri, that happened when he was here, let's say 5-6 years ago. And he's a lot younger than Nylander was. So, you gotta be a professional. And no matter what the excuse was, it is unacceptable.
I don't disagree with that at all.
No, not knowing all the details. was there an opportunity for teammates to cover for them? And if so, why didn't they cover for him? I mean, I know I'm getting into speculation, but that's always something to wonder about in these cases too, because a lot of times players get away with it. The buddies cover for them.
I don't know how much you can do that now because I believe all these meetings are online and Zoom and video conferencing now. So I'm not sure how much you can do that as opposed to just trying to like delay things in person.
My internet cut out. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, if the leader of the largest government province in this country doesn't know how to use a laptop, that's William Nylander. Where did Willie? Hey, Willie could have. I don't know how to use a watch. A what?
What does this thing do? Oh, the time rate.
All the time. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else with the Leafs?
Be better, Leafs, for the love of God.
Okay, I have to put one more thing in here. And again, we're hoping for the miracle here of the Canucks somehow getting into the playoffs, and there's all these what ifs. But if they were to finish in fourth and the Leafs were to finish in first place, would Leaf fans be feeling a little nervous about that matchup?
I don't think so.
Something to ponder. They shouldn't. They really shouldn't. On balance, they shouldn't. But those last two trips to Vancouver have not been friendly for the Leafs.
Well, just ask the Flames.
Twitter storm.
Ask the Flames going into Anaheim, and the Flames this year going into Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, I just psychological or otherwise. I mean, I don't know.
Yep, it's a great point, Ty.
Well, if the Canucks get in, that means they've probably pulled off at least a couple more wins against the Leafs in the lead up. So yeah, I think you shouldn't be. But the other X factor is will Petey be back too?
And will he be the same? Well, will he be the same Petey that you guys love and know, or is he going to be the Petey of this year?
Yeah. Well, we all worry for that.
Mm-hmm. Lots of what ifs.
Yeah.
Speaking of what ifs. He had 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points, and was a minus 14 in 38 games with the Calgary Flames. Sam Bennett has 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, plus 7, 17 penalty minutes in 3 games with the Florida Panthers. What in the living hell has happened to Sam Bennett?
Would you not be thrilled at this time of the year to be going down south to Florida, a good team, beautiful weather, no state tax, and having a new lease on life? Like it's a perfect storm for Sam Bennett to thrive and playing with the players that he's playing with. He's playing with freaking Jonathan Huberdeau on the second line, and anybody who plays with Huberdeau, they thrive. They really do. He's been top 10 in scoring for, I feel like, forever. It probably hasn't been that long, but it feels like for the past 3 years, Huberdeau has been top 10 in scoring. And it's having that, just a new lease on life. I'm so happy for him. I'm not bitter. That you expect this out of players that want out to prove their fans, themselves, and just overall that they're able to actually do what they say they're going to do. And Sam Bennett, he's done that so far. The fact that he got a 2, 5, and a 10 in his second game there, I love that. I love the grittiness. I just hope I wish he had more of that here. But obviously, the supporting cast around him really got. It's not as vibrant as it is down there in Florida. So I'm very happy for him. Like I said, I'm not surprised. Leafs fan or Flames fans, if you're upset by it, I gotta say, don't be. It's super unfortunate. But I heard this morning on Fan 960 them comparing Sam Bennett to Savard and St. Louis, and it's like, okay, pump the brakes here. let's wait here to see exactly how this all pans out. Also they had Chris Versteeg, who played under Joel Quenneville, on the air this morning as well, and he was saying that it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. If Sam Bennett isn't playing to the way that he is right now, don't put it past Quenneville to bench him. Don't put it past him to put him down on the fourth line. Quenneville is a hard man to please, and he has the sense of who's going the night and who isn't going. So it's not going to be like this the entire time Sam Bennett is a Florida Panther. So be happy for the guy. Be happy it's not in our division. And cheer him on. God, it's fantastic what he's doing down there.
You know, Devin's points in regards to the new lease on life are key there. I mean, he's on a better team, so you'd certainly hope that he wouldn't regress and that he would start looking better, playing around better players. So that's one thing. But I think it just got to the point in Calgary where there was just too much negative discussion around him, and he was not only unhappy, but I think uncomfortable as well. He just couldn't dial it in. And when you do get traded, you might want out and stuff. It's not the same as the reality of actually changing teams. And for a lot of players and across different sports, when they get traded for the first time, it's like that kick in the butt that they haven't had in a long time. And it does get them going again. And so good for Sam Bennett. That he burst onto the scene in 2015 as we all remember, 18-year-old Sam Bennett, and has a great track record of playoff performance. So it would have been a shame to see him just continue to flounder. So at least he's on a team that could use somebody like him in helping.
When I've got their lines pulled up on Daily Faceoff, and they've got him listed as a center on that line as well, with Huberdeau on the left and Duclair on the right. And that's interesting. And did the Flames ever try Bennett in a top 6 center role? Give him some skilled wingers to work with?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. not for an extended period of time, but it was out there for sure.
Because I think I remember seeing it, like they gave him, like he was playing on the right wing with Johnny and Bonnie, and then he was playing on, like, whenever they played him on center, he was playing as a third line guy. So maybe it was a year or two ago when they tried that out, because I don't remember it in the last in recent memory that they tried that.
He always seemed to be a bottom 6 forward here. He always seemed to be on the fourth line. And he never, whenever he played center, it didn't seem to click as well as it could have. I don't know why. They tried him with Monahan and Gaudreau. They tried him. Let's look at last year in the bubble. It was Bennett, Lucic, and Dubé that was the best line for the Flames in the playoffs. So we saw some potential in center for him for sure. I don't know if I want to say this. I think there is. I wanted to do a little bit more research, but the one thing that I am finding very interesting is the players that have stumbled in Calgary, how well they're doing outside of Calgary. You look at Dougie Hamilton. Dougie Hamilton's playing very well in Carolina. Nobody talks about this, but Ryan Lomberg is in Florida, and he's making an impact there. I thought that was a guy that would have made the Calgary lineup. He had an opportunity to be a fan favorite. There's other. It's just Garden Hathaway, another example. It's just. I mean, I don't have a pure scientific. This is an absolute fact research on this. But I do wonder if there's a little bit of a theme of getting out of Calgary is another one. Keegan brought out Mark Jankowski. He seems to be doing a lot better in Pittsburgh.
I feel like Jankowski was a player that you couldn't separate from his cap hit.
Yeah,
because he was 1.9 something, right? He was close to $2 million as a cap hit, and he's a good fourth line player who can penalty kill. That's what he is. But if you're paying 1.95 for that, it's a bit much in today's cap world. And I think Flames fans could not separate that out, and that's you see that everywhere too. You
Yeah.
see that with in Vancouver a lot. You see that.
You don't say.
But I think some of it is just getting out from the expectations too. I think we'll be having this discussion with Jake Virtanen in a year.
Yeah. Oh, we might even be having it with Adam Gaudette here pretty quickly too. Just the ability to focus. Just the ability to focus.
His time on ice was basically the same as he was in Vancouver for the first game he was in with a couple days ago. I think they play today. I can do a quick check on what his time on ice was because he only got like 7 minutes on Monday, I believe. So it's I think there is a bit of that, but it's also the when you get traded in that and it's the price isn't necessarily too high in terms of the Gaudette trade, or you're going into a market where they don't again we're talking about the amount of hypercritical analysis that comes with being in a Canadian market. I think that's part of it too. Tyler talked about it before, like with playing in a passionate market comes that hypercriticism, and whether it's right or wrong, you have to figure out how to deal with it. Some players are better at it than others.
Yeah. And go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of a whole bunch of things. It depends on what situation you're coming from, what you're going to, what type of player you are, what type of situation you're going to be in, and you guys mentioned it, the salary cap behind that. What do you expect it to do? I have a hard time. Sorry to cherry pick this, Sean, but you said that in Calgary was he put in a spot to succeed or have good wingers with him as a center? To me, it doesn't matter whether or not you're center or a wing. If you're put in a good spot, if you are surrounded by good players like a Johnny Gaudreau or a Sean Monahan, especially when they were playing as well as they were when Sam Bennett was playing with them, it doesn't matter. If you're a good enough player, you'll thrive there. So and to Kevin's point, I'm just going to go around the horn here. To Kevin's point, I don't know. Dougie Hamilton. He played well when he was here. He just didn't mesh within the room. I can see the correlation, but once again, as Tyler and Sean mentioned, that there are players on the Canucks that could potentially and will thrive within a different market. It happens all the time. It's just it's a bit of a microscope here because of the journey Sam Bennett has been on.
Yeah, and the pick he was, and what was given up for him, and all of that sort of stuff, and where he ends up. I mean, right now in Florida, the same amount of fans are attending the games that are normally attending during the normal times. So, and the pressures. That was a joke, people. It was really funny. That was really funny. But I mean, there's no pressure on them to actually live this hockey life that we expect up here in Calgary, in Canada, for sure.
Yeah.
And I just want to you mentioned Garnet Hathaway, and his last season as a Flame, he had 11 goals and 8 assists, and his point totals with Washington in the past 2 seasons are sub that. So I think I think he just was who he was, and they couldn't afford him. And sometimes I think that's sometimes what it is too.
Yeah. Well, and also with Lomberg, I loved him. I loved every second of his time with the Flames, even in the AHL. But they had that role filled with Garnet Hathaway as well. So I think it was just without not having the right spot open at the right time for certain players.
Okay.
Sometimes all player needs is the right opportunity.
Yep.
You look at I think I always go back to this one, and sorry, Dev, it's Canucks. It's Alex Burrows. Is he that he fit the Sedins so perfectly? They went through so many. They went through so many right wingers, and it goes against my handedness bias too, because remember, it was all the talk was need to find a Sedin a right shot right winger, need to find the Sedin's a right shot to play with, and next thing you know, they've got Alex Burrows up there, and it worked. So sometimes it just clicks, right? Maybe whatever's working down in Florida with Bennett at center and Huberdeau on the left, and Anthony Duclair is a very underrated player on the right, just works.
Yeah. And to the I know we've talked about this multiple times, is the right-handed, left-handed defensive pairing, or being a right-handed compared to a left-handed on the wing. The 960 show was talking about that this morning. Rep Warner completely despises. He played in the NHL, but he completely despises the fact that right now the majority of the coaches in the NHL want to have a left shot and a right shot on your defensive. And the only time the time where that actually changed was 2010, when Mike Babcock was very adamant on having a left shot and a right shot. And I feel like I'm not a NHL coach, but it seems like everybody's piggybacking on that because this is a big copycat league. Just ask anybody who copycats one of the former NHL champions. It's uncanny how they trying to change to be like that type of team. So sorry, Sean mentioned it. I shouldn't have brought it up, I feel like, but my thoughts have been very very adamant, and everybody knows how I feel about the left shot, right shot.
If it works, it works. But when you're looking for a winger or a defense pair, your ideal is to find the right handedness. But if you find that something that works, like let's go back to the Canucks this year. They've got a full left shot line in Pearson, Horvat, and Hoglander that seems to work. So if it works, it works. And
if it doesn't, you'll hear about it from Sean.
Yep. you're talking to a guy who's just like looking at that and then wondering what a Podkolzin, Hoglander, Horvat line could do, and they're all left shots too. So if it works, it works.
The other thing we want to get into today is junior hockey. Some significant developments. I mean, we don't talk a lot about junior hockey on here. Maybe it's something that we will attack in the future. I don't know. But the WHL, let's go back. The Memorial Cup announced for the second consecutive year, it will not be played, which is kind of obvious. Thank you, Captain Obvious, but still what needed to be announced. The OHL, who has not played this year, has announced that they are not playing anymore. And the WHL, who is playing in hub cities, will not have a playoff for the second consecutive year. We'll get to the women here in a second, but I do want to just specifically spend time on junior hockey here, because I think I don't think that this has been talked about enough, how I think this is really going to hurt a lot of players. I think this is really horrible for a lot. There's a lot of junior grads are never going to play this level of hockey again, that are not going to have a chance at a championship. And I think that's really sad. I think that this is affecting draft eligibility. And I think it's just affecting the overall market and watchability of something that is. Look, I know that the major sports networks here the two major sports networks in this country are not giving it its full deserved attention, but junior hockey is still popular here in this country. And this is a huge blow. And I don't think this is being talked about enough.
It is a huge blow. I hope it doesn't have a long-term impact on fan attendance. And yeah, if you're not sure about junior hockey popularity, whether it's junior A or major junior, or even junior B, I mean, I've gone to different, but we don't have that here in Terrace, none of those levels, but anytime I've had a chance to go to a game, it's great. And the passion is there from the fans. So I hope long-term is not impacted. What really concerns me is guys that have been fighting tooth and nail to keep progressing and keep getting noticed and maybe take that next step. To have something like this happen and maybe have their hockey dream completely snuffed out for good. It's devastating, and just throw it on the list of many things that have been casualties of the pandemic world.
Yeah, it's just it's completely unfortunate with OHL not playing. I don't think there was a way to put the Memorial Cup on. I really feel sorry for those OHL players who couldn't find other places to play, because it's just not getting able to play it really at all really sucks. At least in the Q and the Dub, they were actually able to get some games in. And it's just as Tyler said, it's chalk these up to more casualties to what we've had to go through for the past year, and it's unfortunate. You're right, Kev. It is absolutely devastating for some players who will never get to play at this level again. It must be very frustrating for them. And it's just it's really, as someone who never got to play anywhere near that level, but enjoys watching it. I've missed being able to go to Hitman games and watch that, because the heart, the intensity, they're still trying to make it. So they're throwing it all out on the line there. If you haven't gone to watch junior hockey, when we're all able to go do that again, you need to go do it. Whether it's junior B, junior A, or CHL level, go do it. Like, it's worth it. It's fun. It's great. It's good hockey, and it's exciting. And these kids put it all out on the line just to try and make a living out of playing hockey. And I cannot wait to be able to go and support them again.
Sean forgot to mention Junior C. Welcome to the jungle. Let's support them as well.
That sounds like a jungle league, doesn't it?
No, it's just not much more to say, because I do echo the sentiments of Sean and Tyler. It's just heartbreaking. It's super shitty, and let's hope that we can get back to some sort of normalcy, as cliche as that is to say right now. God, I'm so sick of the COVID cliches of it right now. It's just like, oh my God, yes, we've heard it all. We've heard every single one. I'm so sick of it, but it doesn't make it less true.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to sorry, I got a message. I'm a busy man.
You're a big deal, Kevin.
I'm a big.
Okay, Elliot Friedman.
Yeah, basically that's what I'm feeling like right now. I'm literally like Elliot Friedman with a hat, and no turtleneck. One of the lessons that I do hope comes out of this, and there were reports of this coming out, is from that TSN is taking over the junior coverage, and I hope that this is a lesson that TSN gets legitimately on board to broadcast the Canadian Junior Hockey League, not just the OHL, not just the Q, but the entire Junior Hockey League. Rich Sutter talked about this week on the Rod Peterson show, and he said that the WHL right now has some of the most exciting players that they have ever had in a long time. It is like, you look at, it's not only Connor Bedard and it's not only Dustin Wolf. There's Logan Stankoven. There's a lot of players right now that are super exciting. And this is a time that I think would be a great time to have that focus on it.
And
I would hope that from TSN's point of view, they look at the synergy between all the Hockey Canada events that they have, including, of course, the World Juniors, and then being able to broadcast CHL hockey games, that the two put together would be quite compelling and worth doing and worth putting in a good effort for. And I mean, I don't know how Rogers' sort of local level resources stack up against CTV's, but I suspect in Western Canada, if TSN's looking for talent both on camera and production, I think they got a lot more to draw from in some of those WHL markets than Rogers would. Where we saw they were, Rogers put a lot of effort in at the local level to the OHL, but I mean the WHL was basically invisible in the Rogers world.
Are you putting your name in the ring there, or Ty?
Yeah, sure.
What I'd love to see is, how Rogers had like when they were going, they had the CHL game of the week.
Yeah.
TSN needs to have WHL game of the week, OHL game of the week, QMJHL game of the week. If you're gonna tell us that you've bought the CHL rights, I want to see a game of the week for each league, because as Kevin said, the WHL has some very exciting players. OHL is going to have some very exciting players, and QMJHL is going to have some very exciting players. We need to see all of them. It's not just about the OHL and then the odds QJMHL game, and then even more rare WHL game that Rogers was doing. We need to see weekly games from each league. If you do that, and the other thing, what I would love to see is them to use the talent that's already there to call the games.
Mm-hmm.
Use their, because the CHL has games that are streamed for, like, they got the radio guys making the call, and with that, put it on TV. Get some better equipment, some better cameras in there for those games, and put it on TV.
Well, like I say, I mean, there's CTV stations in pretty well, I think, all of these junior hockey places where there's not so much, Rogers oriented stations, to my knowledge. So I mean, the resources are there. They just have to organize it.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm really excited to see what TSN does, because if they can treat it like they've treated the World Juniors and the CFL, when they turn those into must-have broadcasting properties, I think they can do that, especially if that's why I said, just do weekly games to at least to start, but make sure each week you have a game from the dub, a game from the O, and a game from the Q, so that you are providing content for each league equally.
Yeah. So I didn't know. I guess I got to do it. I got to do it, don't I?
Plug it, Kevin. Yes. Plug it.
Go.
So I did my debut article with the Dub Network, and I'll just share it. I'm not saying it's the greatest article of all time.
It's a good idea.
It's worth reading.
I proposed a change. It's on Twitter here. I proposed a change to the Memorial Cup that it would be March Madness type. So everyone knows March Madness, you separate into brackets. So the way I did it was you have your WHL regular season champion, your OHL regular season champion, your QMHL champion as your 1 seeds, and then we already do a CHL ranking. So whoever is ranked 4th is the 4 number 1 seeds. Divide them up in 8. You do a single game round robin tournament. You knock it down to 16. You move them to different cities. And I'm actually saying not major cities, not the Calgarys, not the Edmontons, not the Vancouvers, not the NHL cities, but junior hockey cities.
Yes.
And you build it down, to a Final Four, and then you have your Memorial Cup. You are going to get, what I love about the idea is you'll have the possibility of upsets, which is awesome. You have fresh matchups, which is also awesome. You have some great storylines that you can tell. You could have a number 1 seat that turns into a villain and a number 8 seat that turns into such a, like, oh my gosh, who the heck are these guys kind of thing. I just think it has so much potential, and it removes for once the Memorial Cup home ice advantage, which is one of the dumbest things going right now. It's an unfair and ineffective advantage. and it just would creates some interest in the Memorial Cup, which I don't feel is interesting right now.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with the Memorial Cup is that, when it was on Sportsnet and they were not the provider of the Stanley Cup playoffs, Sportsnet gave it the maximum effort. But because now the two are on the same network, it just gets lost. And on top of that, ever since TSN lost the Stanley Cup playoff rights, they've gone ahead and air all 64 games of the Men's World Championship. And so there's just too much competition. But I mean, again, we've seen what TSN's done with the World Junior Championship. They do a heck of a job with the Women's Worlds as well, and some other Hockey Canada events and IIHF events. So if those are any indication, whether the Memorial Cup is the traditional format or something different like you've proposed, Kevin, it would get more attention. I think we can all be pretty confident in that.
I mean, you're already doing multi-views for March Madness, so you can do multi-view for this as well.
What I would love to see, and I like this idea. I still want to see full playoffs for each league. I still think that's part of it. And then you go into this, and then you make it. Doesn't have to be a full 64. You can't even do that.
That's why I went 32, because you can't
32.
You can't do 64.
I don't even think.
I think if you even in 16, Kevin, you could still have a compelling.
Yeah. If you keep the playoffs the same for each league, and then you go a 16-team tournament, single elimination knockout, that would still be just as great and have exactly what you want without taking away home playoff games, which is revenue for those teams to stay afloat, especially for those smaller market teams.
Yeah,
the places that you want to host those regional play-ins. So I love the idea. I think CHL needs to do it. I think they need to find a way to expand the Memorial Cup and have a bit of a bracket type single elimination tournament. But I still want to see these teams battling it out in the playoffs for their league championships and and that's who gets the number one seeds are the winners of those playoffs. You earn those number one seeds by doing that, and then your fourth number one seed would be based off of those rankings.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. I think it's great. It puts a different swing on just the junior hockey in general. I mean, look how popular it is down in basketball for March Madness is down in the States. Even here in Canada, it's huge, and it just get more eyes on it, get more exciting, promote the smaller towns of Canada, and I don't see a negative thing about it, to be completely honest.
And I said, I think it just needs a little tweaking, but the idea, Kev, is something I think the CHL needs to do, because not only what the Memorial Cup's like a weekend, right? Right now,
it's a week.
It's a week. Yeah,
it's a week. Okay, yeah, it's the week leading up. This would be 2 weeks. This would be at least 2 weeks long, and you throw in the brackets and everything, and it'd be fantastic, and it would really help grow the game and grow the visibility of the CHL, because we talk about how Canada is a hockey country, but for some reason we do not support our developing junior level teams the way we should, in my opinion. You look down the States, and NCAA football, basketball are huge. Like, we can't even, like, they're more popular. The NCAA football and basketball are more popular than the NHL.
Yeah,
more popular than almost NFL and NBA.
Well, I was going to say college football stadiums are all typically bigger than NFL stadiums.
Yeah,
and let me add something that is an uncomfortable topic, but I'm going to put it in there. You can do betting in this. You can.
Yep.
It's
again, brackets.
Brackets. Yes, they love our brackets.
I love the idea of the format change. We have a fan.
Hey, Geeks makes an appearance.
Yay!
There we go. Yeah, it is. It is a great idea.
I want to end on with the women's. I think we needed to do this a little bit separately and not combine the two because the women's World Cup is postponed, not canceled. I think that we need to make sure that that's clear. There is a suggestion. By the way, with juniors, Sam Constantino is reporting that they are looking at a prospect bubble tournament between the OHL, WHL, and Q before the draft in Edmonton.
That'd be good.
That'd be very good.
I feel like that was mentioned on this podcast a few during this when we talked about it in the past about having some sort of like creating a combine for CHL. I feel like we've discussed this before.
I feel like we have Elliot Friedman and Sam Constantino on here. Are you Sam Constantino? Are you wanting a pat on the back, Sean?
Yeah,
Let's give the ladies their due here.
But if they can pull it off, that's an absolutely amazing idea. They better give that the proper treatment too.
Absolutely.
I would love to watch the top dub prospects play the top O and Q. Like it'd just be so great to especially for this year when like it's such a gong show for draft for the draft. Just it would be really awesome to see that.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna add one more thing. We need to stop with the Summit Series crap and play OHL versus WHL regular season games. Cross junior league this. Come on, do it.
Well, we can make travel more affordable, maybe, but that's
okay. Let's still bring the Russians over, but make it a tournament.
Sure. Okay, we got to move on. We're poor Tyler's like we gotta go.
Well, you brought up the Women's World Championship.
Yeah,
we'll just give that the proper.
We need to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna move on to the women.
Go back to that.
Yeah.
So apparently, the province of Nova Scotia is not allowing it to go ahead, obviously, due to the pandemic. But I guess there's some discussion, perhaps, that they could be held in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in conjunction with the Stars, I'm guessing. So hopefully that'll still happen. But obviously pretty crushing for the ladies. I believe all the teams have broken camp and we're getting geared up for it and ready to move on from having last year's tournament canceled. And now this news comes out. It's really disappointing.
So... and it's only because I'm just going to pat myself on the back here again. I'm covering the U18s for the Dubbit Network. I'm aware of where this is. There's two arenas 15 minutes across from each other. That's where they're holding the U18 tournament, and two great facilities that they can make this tournament work. There will be fans allowed because they are allowing fans already in Texas. I know people are already outraged about it, but there's going to be fans.
The toothpaste is out of the tube on that one.
So 100%. Nothing we can do about that, but great opportunity. And I think overall a very interesting place to put this because historically I think Hockey Canada and the Worlds have always thought that if you put northern states, at least allows the Canadians to travel and you'll get a crowd. This is going to be an interesting test. This is going to be in Texas. No one's going to be able to travel, but no, I'm all for it. I really hope that this happens for them.
Yeah.
Oh, they deserve to be able to play in their World Championships, and wherever it is, I really hope that they're able to pull it off. They didn't get to do it last year, and it just sucks that they got pulled out basically right at the last minute from them to host it, to have it in Halifax, because there were, I believe. The Team Canada was already there for selection camp, and all the other teams were supposed to start flying in tomorrow or this week to do their quarantine before the tournament.
Yeah. It's this. I mean, it's just, again, we've just said it. It's just it's a very devastating another casualty that doesn't need to happen, and I really hope this. And this was another one. If TSN wants to, to call on TSN again, this is something you need to jump on board with. I know that Sportsnet tried to do the intermissions of it to try to give it some coverage, but I do think there's still a long way to go in giving this. And that's a whole other topic that we could spend another hour and 45 minutes on, but we're not going to do that,
Yeah.
Tyler.
No.
I just want to paraphrase what Bo Levi Mitchell said about the postponement of the CFL season starting. Just disappointed, not in with Hockey Canada or the IIHF or the government or anything, just because we want to see it, and I understand why they did it. I'm just disappointed that the circumstances didn't allow for Nova Scotia to feel comfortable hosting that tournament.
Yeah. Anything else we need to touch on?
I just want to. We didn't really get a chance to talk about this on Sunday in the lead up to it, but I feel like we need to give a round of applause, some stick taps to Patty O'Neill, Canucks equipment manager. Been for now doing over 3,000 games behind the bench in that role or something similar in the NHL, and that is fantastic. Equipment managers are some of the most unsung heroes of in the game, and they sometimes never get enough credit. I think it was great timing that Sidney Crosby got to score a goal after basically skating up ice and having the Pittsburgh Penguins equipment manager hand him a stick just before he potted in a rebound, and to see Sidney turn around and point at him, and then everyone on the bench basically mob the guy was awesome to see. Awesome to see. That's the type of stuff that reminds you why we love this game.
You're forgetting one equipment manager as well. No one. It happened either last year or the year before. It was the Leafs equipment manager giving Mitch Marner a stick.
That's right.
Attributing to a goal as well. He did the point as well, exactly. So let's give some credit to the Leafs here. I know it's probably all over the social media, but the overall message is they don't. Those are the unsung heroes within the organizations, and they do need credit when credit is due. And they need credit every time they do anything, to be completely honest. But good on O'Neill for that milestone there.
And not just, the logistical role that those equipment managers, trainers provide to the team, but also just on a person-to-person level, the sounding board that they can be for the players is immensely important to the players, and a big part of the game that doesn't get talked about very much.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just one more is Victor Hedman. He has a tradition with one of his equipment managers, as his equipment manager spreads out his fingers and does the whole knife trick of trying to hit him, go between the empty spaces of his fingers. So it's a cool little friendship and relationship that you do have with them. And I know that when I had equipment managers, I gave them as much props as I could. So yeah, it's a cool relationship they do have with players.
I'm just going to give a shout out, and we already talked about this, but congratulations to Patrick Marleau. He broke the record. It wasn't a lot of fanfare. This guy deserves a standing ovation for what he did. I'm sorry, it's not the time or the place to be sitting there and creating his accomplishments. And nobody in this world is saying that Patrick Marleau is better than Gordie Howe. He just broke a record. Gordie Howe would have stick tapped him as well. And I just he deserves all the credit in the world, and I want to say congratulations for him to do it. And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Definitely.
Sorry, SS.
Yeah. Shall we leave it there?
Let's leave it there. How do we follow everyone?
I am Beardy Canucks 03, and I'm hoping by this time next week we'll be in the middle of a fantasy hockey final between Devin and I. We're in the opposite brackets of the semifinals. Devin's got a pretty comfortable lead right now. I'm in a tooth and nail battle with another guy named Sean. And so hopefully next week we'll be in the middle of that battle when we have our midweek intermission.
And I'm on Twitter at TNoble, TNOBLE.
I'm Gordhouse09 on Twitter.
Schneids is SCHNEIDZ. I am KVOLE, who is also hoping to be in the final against Fantasy King Nels. Cheater Fantasy King Nels and I might be in the final.
It is that guy. Okay.
It is that guy, yeah.
Well, and shout out to Chris, who lost last week in our fantasy as well.
Twisted a little harder, boy.
I'm KVOLE, podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, the hockey podcast, YouTube.com, the hockey podcast. Subscribe. We will be making Wednesday our midweek intermission come hell or high water for the rest of the year, or we're looking at that. But we are back Sunday, 11 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Mountain, where we will recap what the Canucks have done, what the Leafs have done, what the Flames have done, and whatever else have happened. Thanks, everyone. And as Keenan gives us a final compliment, there we go. We'll talk to you all very soon.